Hello and welcome, everybody, to Moonlighting Montana. This week, talking about some of the quarterfinal games that happened this last week and even looking forward to what we have in store for the semifinals. As you see, I thought the most appropriate way to do this and to relay the message to those of you who watch, I am doing this whole show in the weight room because what I've seen so far and what I've believed to be true for a very long time, the teams that make these deep runs, that make waves, and the kids that make these deep runs can attribute a lot of their success to the weight room. It helps with injury prevention, helps them be bigger, stronger, faster, and it was proven over the week kind of what happened. Getting into the scores right away, you could tell that across the state of Montana, there was definitely some teams that were a little bit tight going into these games, a little nervous, a little bit like they could lose, playing not to lose instead of playing to win, just not performing like they should. And I think a lot of coaches can attest to that. But going straight into Class AA, we had the real shocker of Gallatin beating Helena. Gallatin Raptors 24, Helena Bengals 21. Now, in that game, there's a wide receiver on Gallatin Raptors who's a real player to watch going into this next round, named Quinn Clark, who had 3 touchdowns. He's 6'6". He's ultra athletic. I think the first time I actually watched him was when I was watching basketball last year, and he had a couple of dunks. Just a freak athlete. He's the guy to watch going into this next game when they take on Bozeman. Capital takes care of business versus Butte, but I will say it was hard fought. Butte put up a very good fight, and Capital eventually just turned around and handed the ball to Tom Carter and let him handle business. So he's the guy to watch for the rest of the year for Capital because Tom Carter can straight up play football in the capital city. Then Bozeman beats Glacier 31-23. Quarterback of Bozeman's super solid. Defense took care of business as a whole for Bozeman, capitalizing on a lot of turnovers. And so as you can see these graphics that are going to be posted here, they win by 8. Like I said, the quarterback for Bozeman, his name slipped my mind right now, but he had a very solid game, and he capitalized on the turnovers that Bozeman's defense got for them. And then Sentinel barely squeaks one out against West. Now, the bracket, like I will show, and we'll talk about in a little bit, it's interesting how the teams matched up and how they're going to go moving forward. But before I show you that, let's get into some Class A football. I know Helena Gallatin's in there. We'll make sure it's not. But so for Class A, we had Fergus squeaking one out against Columbia Falls. Columbia Falls fought really hard. Fergus's quarterback situation is very interesting because he's for a run first type quarterback, a lot of designed runs, Boyce, and he's very fun to watch. They're just so strong. This weight room's dedicated to the teams like Fergus around the state, teams like Culbertson, that you can tell they're just hard-nosed, hard-working kids, and it's paying off for them. And they're going to physically dominate games. Now, is that going to last? You kind of have to check all the boxes, right? You can't just be physically strong, but we'll see how far that takes them. Then Hamilton beats Whitefish 34-20. Billings Central Catholic wins 24-21 against Beaverhead County. So it was a very close game, as you can see by the scores. And big shout out to my friend Cody Branson, who set up these new scores for me that pulls all this information right offline. I don't have to do any of the manual labor. So a big shout out to him. This is amazing. Then we have Polson squeaking one out against Laurel. We knew that was going to be hard fought. We knew it was going to be tough. Polson stays undefeated, and now the battles of the unbeatens, kind of West versus East matchup that a lot of people are looking forward to in that one. Then we go to Class B. My freaking Loyola Rams, like, come on, man. Just shocking people, making it all the way to the semifinals. I counted them out personally. I didn't think that they were going to make it this far. I don't really know what Shepherd's all about, but what I do know is Loyola is turning it on at the right time, and they are going to be a team to worry about because I don't know what the formula is for this postseason run that they're making, but good for them. Florence absolutely proves why this spread offense is better against a running team, especially when you can stop the run. And I think Florence did that the entire game. They win 28-6 against Huntley, who was, I mean, people were high up on him. They absolutely took care of him. They absolutely smacked him because it was a much more dominant game than the score might show. Then Jefferson whoops Malta by 48-14. That was just, yeah, that was a butt kicking. Big Fort whoops Glasgow 52-12. And now we get teams that are whooping up on other teams playing each other. So that'll be interesting. Now, this one's the shocker. And across the state, it's still a shocker. We knew Belt was good. We knew Belt was talented. But did we know that they were going to completely and utterly get away with a assault like they did against Flint Creek? 48-0, Belt beats Flint Creek. And now some eyes are open. I'm sorry. If I was a coach, if I'm a team, I would be nervous playing that team at all. I mean, that is a statement win. So Belt just absolutely crushes Flint Creek. And then one of the more amazing games in high school football this week was St. Ignatius versus Ennis. Ennis leads the game the entire time. And I'd watched St. Ignatius. I'd watched Mission play a few times this year where they have this really good kind of quick style offense with slants and with stop routes that just, it's elite for a high school level team to do. And I think Ennis was really well coached and prepared. And for the first half of the game, they completely stopped that. And then Mission did something that a lot of people didn't think they would do and changed the style of offense they were playing, and with a lot more run-heavy offense, relying on their athletes, relying on their strength, and eventually just stifled Ennis and poured it on them, but ended up winning 36-27, but it was much closer. I mean, it was down to the fourth quarter when points were being scored, and I think that Ennis would want to have that game back. They made a few mistakes offensively late that hurt them, but what a season by Ennis. No one really had their sights on them this year. No one was really talking about them. Kind of, average team last year. Still have some really young, amazing talents. Like their quarterback's going to be back again next year, who's electric to watch. But just what a season for them. Proving people wrong all year. And then Mission, who I and the rest of the state's really high on, they had them beat. Like I said, it was small mistakes, game time mistakes, not prep mistakes, not talent mistakes. They have every bit of talent and every bit of preparation to beat that team on a given night, and they just didn't that day. So, and that happens, right? That's why sports is so fun to watch. Then Culbertson beats Superior 56-34. Honestly, what it was is Culbertson is just like the reason I'm placed in this weight room today. The omission of strength, everything that's surrounding this room is much more than just getting broad shoulders. It's much more than vanity. It's much more than trying to have egotistical stylistic, how good you look. It proves to be a dominant tool when it comes to athletics and when it comes to sports. And it's about getting kids in there early. It's not you could lift the hardest you've ever lifted for a whole year. If you hadn't lifted before that or had a reason to be lifting before that, then you're not going to just make gains that quickly. And Culbertson is one of those teams that is going to come out and impose their will on you by force. It's almost illegal. They're so strong. They are like battering rams, and they're relentless. And they have the right mixture of a big beastly fullback and a great quarterback that makes it all happen. Fairview, I think, opened my eyes. I need to watch more of them because they absolutely stomped Joliet, who coaches have been telling me is so good. But yeah, Fairview, very good team. Mission's going to have their hands full on that one. Then in six-man, missing Bridger's score on here, but Bridger beats Chester rather easily. Big Sandy has a barn burner, 25-20. Big Sandy's kind of all around, just has some good athletes, and they get stuff done. It was a windy one when I was watching it. It looked like the field was coming up off the ground at one point. But but Big Sandy gets the win. I still am rooting for those Big Sandy Pioneers. Freud Medicine Lake win 44-8 against Valier, and Broadview Levine continues its winning ways, wins 47-29 against Roy Winifred. Now, very quickly, this will be a quicker video this week as we kind of dive down into the semifinals. We've talked about these teams. We've learned a little bit about these teams, especially in the crunch time. But I'm going to put up a little graphic here about what we were looking at for the brackets going forward. In Class AA, we have a little bit of a shock. I think a lot of people kind of thought, oh wow, the best football is being played in Helena. The state championship, if it's not in the championship, is going to be played in Helena. And maybe it was going to be played in Gallatin. Maybe it was going to be played in the Gallatin Valley. But either way. And so then we move down and we have Capital versus Sentinel, and that's kind of that'll be a test for both teams. They come in battle ready, battle hardened, and I think that'll be sort of a test for them. So Capital versus Sentinel down below there. Obviously, that game going to be in Helena, which is beneficial for Capital because those fans get rowdy and they love their football. So still rooting, still thinking that Capital is the strongest team in AA, but again, teams are showing up at the right time. Then we got Hamilton playing versus Billings Central. That's going to be a great game too. Both teams that have not tested each other. The difference is Hamilton has not lost and Billings Central does have a loss. Granted, they lost against Fergus, who's a really solid football team, and Polson's going to get the brunt of that in the other game. It's going to be Polson versus Fergus, the battles of the unbeaten. I really like this game. I'm really interested to see how it goes. It's two different styles of offense, pass first team versus a run heavy strength team. So it'll be interesting to see. Class B, we got Loyola versus Big Fork. I want to say Loyola is counted out in this one. I really want to say Big Fork is going to easily win, but who knows, man. The heart they got there, the Rams are running, and they're ready to challenge, and they're ready for that challenge, right? Teams are. And so you have to play them eventually. Might as well play them now. Then we got the better game, in my opinion, in Class B that week, which is Florence versus Jefferson. Already played this year, and Jefferson actually, that's when they kind of put their name on the map. Jefferson beats Florence. I think that they fell off the map a few times this year, but looked really good in the postseason so far. And so I expect them to be ready to roll another weight room team. Start calling them weight room teams. Another weight room team there. And then we have in Class C 8-man, Belt versus Culbertson. Who knows what to expect? Honestly, like I said, Culbertson's a weight room team. Very strong, impose their will. It's kind of one of those things. If they get a lead, if the style of game goes the way it could, and now outside, if you guys are in Montana, which most of you probably are, you understand that the weather is taking a turn. And it's going to benefit a lot of these teams who are run first teams. It just is. And whether coaches think about that stylistically or schematically at the beginning of the year, and I'm back. People needed to use the weight room, and I obliged because, like I said, big advocate of the weight room. But just to finish off what we were already talking about here, Belt versus Culbertson, like I said. Culbertson's a weight room team, and they are the team that's looking to upset, I guess, the steamroller that is Belt. A lot to prove for Culbertson. I think Belt's already proved it, and I'm excited to see how that matchup turns. I would just be shocked if somebody knocked off Belt for that state championship because Flint Creek was strong, and they made them look very weak. And then on the other side of the 8-man bracket, we have, maybe move the graphic here this time, but we will have Mission versus Fairview. Now, Mission eked one out against a very good Ennis team, and what they showed is resiliency, and they showed a little bit of, uniqueness. They weren't the team that a lot of teams just fall into prey and fall victim to their old ways and never skewing away from it, kind of like Huntley did versus Florence. Felt like they just didn't know what to do after what they've been doing for so long didn't work. And so we will see if Michigan continues to do that. They showed that they could do it against Ennis, and I like that in a team, especially a postseason team that's now starting to see teams they didn't really prepare for, different styles of play. Then we move to six-man. My outlook on six-man is still that Big Sandy's going to be, it's so crazy to watch. I can't wait to have a six-man coach on here to just explain the rules, because if you guys haven't caught a six-man game, please do. It is so interesting to watch, and it's jarring, and it's different, and I don't know, it's super exciting. Big Sandy looked really good. I think Broadview looks super solid. And as we go, I think it's Big Sandy, Bridger, and Big Sandy versus Freud Medicine Lake, and Bridger versus Broadview. I think I'm gonna have to go with Broadview because they've been very solid all year. But I'm gonna stay with my favorites. I don't think my favorites have changed. I think, other than Helena High getting knocked off, I think Helena Capital's got to be the favorite in AA, even though I really want to root for Gallatin as a Cinderella team, team that is just paving the way for how things should go. And then for A, I really think that Fergus is still going to be my favorite. They showed more diversity and more resiliency and more grit as they get into tougher and tougher matchups. And I think that the style that they play and the type of football that they play, that weight room brand, is going to carry them forward. And B, I think Florence right now is looking like it's the most solid. Now, Big Fork really rolled their first team, and they really benefited from, I think, the bracket side a little bit. But obviously, Big Fork's still going to be the team to beat. I think that Florence has to get through Jefferson. That's their first task, and we have to, and then other than that, if they can get through Jefferson, then that game in Big Fork's going to be crazy. Another rematch of the state championship. In 8-man, no longer is my team, the team has changed there. I think Belt is got to be the favorite to win the state championship, and good for Belt. Good to come forward. I know they were a darn good basketball team next year. Excited to get into basketball this year, particularly with this show. But that's it, you guys. Really quick episode. Most of it, I want to see a couple of games coming up. I'm going to have to bundle up for the cold, be freezing my you-know-what's off out there. But I want to attend some of the games in the semifinals and maybe the state championships and bring you guys a little bit more action. Please, if you guys want to see what games to watch, our favorite matchups of the week, please check us out on Instagram at Moonlighting Montana. There's also some other content on there that's just fun matchups across the state as we slowly wind down the football season, then right back into basketball season, and now even get into baseball season. But that's all future stuff. Right now, we're enjoying the ride, brother, and we're just going to continue on. Appreciate you guys watching us tonight. Again, follow us on Instagram. Thank you so much for the support. Love you guys. Have a wonderful day. Toodaloo. See you next time.